Sir Keir Starmer is coming under fire as he struggles to get his house in order. In an attempt to save grace, the Labour leader is reportedly offering veteran MP Diane Abbott a peerage if she doesn't stand in the election. It's as the former Hackney North MP was apparently barred from being a Labour parliamentary candidate. Joining me now, once again, I'm thrilled to say, is political correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, I didn't think Labour agreed with the House of Lords, so what's going on here?
Yes, indeed. It's not very long ago, is it, that Labour said that if they got into power, they would abolish the House of Lords. Now they say that the plan ultimately will be to do that, but they are not planning for 5 years in office. They are planning for, as Keir Starmer will say over and over again, a decade of national renewal, quote. So any abolition of the House of Lords would come in a second parliament. But in the meantime, it looks like the House of Lords could come in very useful indeed in dealing with how do you deal with a problem like Diane Abbott? Because she was, of course, the first female black MP elected to Parliament. She's represented her constituents in Hackney North and Stoke Newington for 37 years. And after she was suspended for over a year over that article that she wrote saying that Jewish people, Irish people and travellers didn't experience racism all their lives in the same way as black people. She was cast out. It turns out that that investigation concluded months ago. She apologised straight away. But with the election being called suddenly, and a decision had to be made. Now, it's reported that the plan had been that the Labour whip would be restored to her, and then she would decide in her own time to retire. But, of course, it all went horribly wrong last week. It led to several days of really, really bad headlines for the Labour leadership in the way that it was handled. Diane Abbott appearing outside Hackney Town Hall saying that she would stand by whatever means necessary. So we wait to see. The NEC is meeting on Tuesday. Will she decide to stand now that Sir Keir Starmer has finally said she's free if she wants to? Or will perhaps, having made her point, having scored a victory, if you like, she decide not to stand and likely then be given a peerage and put in the House of Lords? We won't have very long to wait. But one other thing, it sounds like Labour will make a number of people peers because they want to even up the numbers in the House of Lords to help them get legislation through there. So far from abolishing the House of Lords, at the moment it looks like they could be creating quite a few new peers.
Do you think we will get an answer to the whole Diane Abbott thing on Tuesday when the NEC meet? Basically, Keir Starmer is in charge of that as well, isn't he? So he keeps distancing himself, saying it's up to them, but you are actually in charge of it, mate, so...
Well, for a long time, the line was it's an independent process. It's not up to us. It's up to the National Executive Committee. But it seemed, reading between the lines, that the Labour leadership didn't really want her to stand. Now, she's free to stand, he said, but that wasn't exactly a gushing endorsement. No. And given what's happened in the last few days, that lots of Starmer supporters have basically been parachuted into safe Labour seats, and other previous Corbyn supporters like Lloyd Russell Moyle has been suspended. He's not allowed to stand. Faiza Shaheen, that was already campaigning in Chingford, she too has been banned from standing. So it does feel a bit like there has been a purge of some people on the left going on.
Especially, and I'm going to ask this because we're an all-female team today, and thanks for all the compliments coming in on that one. Kate Osmer is a former member of Corbyn's shadow cabinet. She was recently reinstated as a Labour MP as well. So does Labour have a problem with strong women? Does it have a problem with women who are black or brown? Or is it just because they're on the left? Or is it a combination of all three?
Well, Rosie Duffield, of course, who's been very outspoken for women's rights, has had quite a rough time with the Labour leadership. She told our political editor, Christopher Hope, on his podcast that she believes that Labour has a woman problem. Of course, they've never had a female leader. But Sir Keir Starmer will say, well, look, I've got Rachel Reeves, a woman, as Shadow Chancellor. I've got Angela Rayner as Deputy Leader. So, no, of course, there is no woman problem. But Faiza Shaheen the other day was incredibly upset that she couldn't stand against Sir Ian Duncan-Smith in Chingford, and she basically said that Labour did have a problem with women, and specifically she said with black and brown people. She just had a baby about 6 weeks ago by caesarean. She was already out campaigning. She is contemplating taking legal action against the Labour Party.
We wait and see with bated breath on that one. Catherine Forster, thank you very much. We didn't have time to get where you got up to on the private jet with Rishi Sunak, but we'll get back to that one, don't worry, at some point. Thank you very much, Catherine Forster. Right, let's see what my wonderful panel, Scarlett Maguire and Emma Wolf, make of our the damehood for Diane Abbott. Scarlett, you're on the Labour side of things. Labour, we're going to get rid of the House of Lords. Oh, no, we're going to pop Diane Abbott in there to shut her up.
No. There are two different things. If you want to get rid of the House of Lords, you have to have a majority in the House of Lords to do it.
That's what they're saying, isn't it?
That is exactly what Tony Blair did when he got rid of most of the hereditaries, is that he had to get it through. So of course, you do need a lot to get rid of them. On Diane, I think it'd be great if Diane Abbott went into the House of Lords. I mean, there she is, you know, a pioneering black woman.
I completely agree with you on that,
and frankly, if you're in the House of Lords, you can't. Literally, you just can't stand for Parliament. So she's got to make up her mind. Yeah. But I think it would be the best thing. I think it'd be really good for her that she would have a platform. She'd be able to say whatever she wanted, and actually, it would due deference to a woman who has really fought to change things.
I think for a black woman of that generation to achieve what she achieved is astonishing, regardless of what you think of her politics, completely. But if you were Diane Abbott, Emma, would you think, well, actually, you've treated me fairly shabbily, Keir Starmer. I'm actually going to stand as an independent here.
I have to disagree with you both. I think the idea that after her comments, which many perceived as anti-Semitic, the idea that you are just going to move Diane Abbott out of the way, you know, move her out of the problem, and pop her in the House of Lords. I really object. Well, I object to the House of Lords. I object to this idea that in 2024 we still have this unelected chamber. I find it really distasteful. This is naked political expediency. This is honours being used as, you know, basically bribery, get someone out of the way.
We have been here
I think
before.
the fact that honours are handed out like gongs, and I'm more worried, I'm more concerned about the fact that the House of Lords is now pretty obviously going to be stuffed, and we're talking about, it could be up to 100, suddenly new peers created in order to get that political balance that Labour will need in order to get their legislation through. I get it. The House at the moment is unbalanced. But Labour are going to stuff the House of Lords with Labour peers. This is not the way the House of Lords should work. It shouldn't exist. But I mean, this is really distasteful.
One, Emma,
it's an expensive, undemocratic.
I'm completely with you.
They can turn up, they sign in, they get their £360. Is it £340, £360
a day?
They have a cup of tea a day. They have, and I know people in the House of Lords who say they do that en route. They sign in, get their money, have a cup of tea, have a drink in the bar, and leave.
It's not new,
and this is not acceptable. People are working very, very hard out there. The House of Lords needs to be abolished.
And it's the second biggest chamber after the Chinese Communist Party, right?
Appalling.
Look, I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely think...
Taxpayers' money.
I agree that it should... But given that it exists, I do think that Diane Abbott... And can I say that? I think what she's... I mean, she's apologised, she's done an anti-Semitism course. I think that what she did, she was incredibly clumsy, right? She should never have said it. She knows she should never have said it. I do not think Diane's anti-Semitic.
No, I don't. I said comments which some perceived as anti-Semitic.
Yes.
I'm not calling her anti-Semitic, actually, at all. But I'm personally on her record, many, many things going back to saying that, you know, people shouldn't send their children to private school. And guess what? Her son was in private school. I don't like attacking people on their personal lives. But I'm just saying, for me, she's not someone that I want to see in the House of Lords that I respect in that way.
But, I mean, this is not new. I mean, Tony Blair,
I know they do it.
Back in the
I know
House
they
of
do it. They
Lords.
stuff the House of Lords with their
Boris
cronies.
Johnson
Tried to
put
get his family in there. Yeah.
I mean,
Doesn't
he
make
put
it-
his brother. His brother is in the House
It
of Lords.
doesn't make it right, girls.
No,
it doesn't make
it's
it
not.
right that, oh, well, it exists. I mean, Hamas exists. We still call for them to be abolished, and I'm not making any equivalence there.
I think that's
But I'm
a bit of a jump
But
there.
I'm not making any equivalence. I'm just saying, because the House of Lords exists, we can still point out that it is an overpaid, undemocratic, unelected chamber, and it's wasting a lot of money.
But do you think that, I mean, it's the hypocrisy of this, isn't it? I mean, I understand the politicking behind it, like, you know, well, if we want to abolish the House of Lords, which we have said we want to do, talking to the Labour Party here, we need to get more Labour peers in there, which is why we're going to put Diane Abbott and a few others in there. So that is the long-term game plan. But there is a hypocrisy here, isn't it?
Wild hypocrisy. And
yeah,
Keir
no,
Starmer said this.
Get rid of the House of Lords and then...
No,
it's
of course I understand, but I do know that everybody, and this has gone on for some time, everybody put in it has to say, yes, we will vote for the abolition. I mean, that there is no question. I mean, I think that the way it's been used, because once... You know, there are 80 hereditaries because they hung on to them. Why can't we get rid of the hereditaries completely? And then then you know that the hereditaries were bad enough because it was just whether you were born from the right mum. But actually, the problem now is I mean, as Tony Benn said, you know, it's who you know.
Of course it is. And it's because I know people personally in the House of Lords who've said to me, cushiest job I've ever had, cushiest ride I've ever had. And I also, as we all do, know people working for the NHS, stacking supermarket shelves, whatever. And when you compare the two, it is actually really, really disgusting to be having one lot of people saying, cushiest ride I've ever had, and the other lot of people working hard for an hourly wage.